On February 1st, 1959, 9 experienced hikers disappeared into one of the coldest mountain ranges in the Soviet Union. None of them would ever return alive. They were young, healthy, and highly trained. They knew how to survive in extreme winter conditions. So why did everything go so horribly wrong? Weeks later, search teams made a discovery that shocked investigators. A tent, abandoned on a frozen mountainside, cut open from the inside. The hikers had left behind their warm clothing, their boots, and most of their supplies, choosing instead to run into the freezing darkness. More than 6 decades later, scientists have proposed explanations. Historians continue to examine the evidence. But one question still echoes across those frozen mountains. What really happened at Dyatlov Pass? It was January 1959. The Cold War was underway. Deep within the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, a group of young adventurers prepared for what they believed would be another challenging but routine winter expedition. None of them knew they were about to become part of one of history's greatest mysteries. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student with extensive mountaineering experience. The team included 8 other skilled hikers. Most were university students or recent graduates. They had trained for harsh winter conditions and had completed difficult expeditions before. This wasn't a group of inexperienced tourists. They knew the mountains, and they understood the risks. Their goal was ambitious: to complete a challenging ski trek across the northern Ural Mountains. The route was classified as one of the highest difficulty levels available at the time. The hikers documented their journey with photographs, diaries, and journals. At first, everything appeared completely normal. The team laughed together, took photographs, and continued toward the mountains. Nothing suggested the tragedy that was about to unfold. As they climbed higher, the weather became more difficult. Powerful winds swept across the open slopes. Visibility dropped. Snow continued to fall. Still, the hikers pushed forward. On February 1st, 1959, they set up their tent on the side of a mountain known as Kolet Cycle, a name often translated as Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. The name sounds ominous, but historians note it likely referred to the mountain's poor hunting conditions, not a supernatural curse. As darkness covered the mountain, the 9 hikers settled into their tent. Outside, the temperature continued to fall. The wind howled across the frozen slope. Inside the tent, everything seemed quiet. But sometime during that night, something happened. Something so frightening that all 9 hikers left the safety of their tent and stepped into the freezing darkness. And what rescuers discovered weeks later would leave investigators searching for answers for decades. The hikers were expected to send a message once they completed their expedition, but the message never came. At first, no one panicked. Winter expeditions were often delayed by bad weather. But as the days passed, families grew worried. Soon, search teams were organized. No one imagined what they were about to find. Volunteers, experienced mountaineers, and later, military teams searched the remote mountains. Days turned into weeks. The weather made every step more difficult. Then, on February 26th, the search finally led them to the hikers' campsite. The tent was still standing, but something was terribly wrong. Investigators found that the fabric had been cut open from the inside. Inside the tent, most of the hikers' winter clothing, boots, food, and essential supplies had been left behind. It appeared that the group had left in extreme haste. Why would experienced hikers abandon their shelter in freezing conditions? That question became the heart of the mystery. A trail of footprints led away from the tent. Some prints suggested that several hikers had walked rather than run. The tracks continued toward a nearby forest. Nearly a mile away, there, searchers made another discovery. Beneath a large cedar tree, they found the first 2 hikers. Nearby were the remains of a small campfire, suggesting the group had tried to survive the freezing night after leaving the tent. Over the following weeks, the remaining members of the expedition were found in different locations. Some were discovered between the cedar tree and the tent. Others were located months later, after the snow had begun to melt. Each discovery added new questions. Not all of the hikers were found together, and investigators struggled to reconstruct exactly what had happened that night. The evidence told an incomplete story, a tent abandoned in haste, footprints leading into the darkness, and 9 experienced hikers who never made it home. But the biggest mystery was still ahead, because investigators now had to answer one impossible question. What forced them to leave the safety of their tent? Question: the hikers had left their tent, but it created dozens of new ones. Investigators carefully examined every piece of evidence, and the more they looked, the stranger the mystery became. There were no clear signs of a fight, no evidence that another group had attacked the hikers, no proof of a wild animal attack. The footprints leading away from the tent mostly appeared to belong to the hikers themselves. It seemed they had made the decision to leave. But why? One of the leading modern explanations is the snow slab avalanche theory. According to this idea, a section of compacted snow may have shifted above the tent. Even a relatively small movement could have made the hikers fear a larger avalanche was about to strike. They may have left the tent quickly, planning to return once the danger had passed. But in darkness, freezing temperatures, and powerful winds, finding the tent again may have become impossible. Another theory focuses on katabatic winds. These are extremely strong, cold winds that can rush down mountain slopes. In rare situations, they can create terrifying conditions with almost no visibility. Some researchers believe the hikers may have been forced to leave their tent temporarily, only to become disoriented in the storm. Over the years, many extraordinary theories appeared. Some claimed secret military experiments. Others suggested UFOs or unknown creatures. These ideas became popular in books and online discussions. However, no credible evidence has confirmed these claims. Most historians and researchers consider them speculative rather than supported by the available evidence. Today, many experts believe a combination of natural factors, extreme weather, difficult terrain, and human decision-making offers the most likely explanation. Yet, because no one survived to describe what happened that night, some questions may never be answered with complete certainty. And that's exactly why, more than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the world's most enduring mysteries. More than 6 decades have passed, yet the Dyatlov Pass Incident continues to fascinate people around the world. Not because every question has been answered, but because the story reminds us how unpredictable nature can be. In recent years, scientists used computer simulations and modern avalanche research to re-examine the evidence. One of the strongest conclusions was that a small snow slab avalanche, combined with extreme weather and darkness, could explain why the hikers quickly left their tent. It may not answer every question, but it fits much of the known evidence better than many earlier theories. Even if the hikers survived the first danger, they still faced temperatures far below freezing, powerful winds, and almost no visibility. In those conditions, even experienced mountaineers can become separated and lose their way. The mountain didn't need to be supernatural. Nature alone could be deadly enough. The Dyatlov Pass Incident is more than a mystery. It's the story of 9 young people who set out on an adventure and never returned home. Today, the mountain pass where the tragedy occurred bears the name of their leader, Dyatlov Pass. It stands as a memorial to the expedition and to the unanswered questions that followed. Perhaps we'll never know exactly what happened during those final hours. But one thing is certain: the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of history's most compelling mysteries. Not because it proves the impossible, but because it shows how a single night in the mountains can leave questions that last for generations. So, what do you think happened at Dyatlov Pass? Was it a tragic combination of weather, terrain, and human decisions? Or do you believe there's still a missing piece of the story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy documentaries about real mysteries, history, and science, subscribe for more stories where facts matter and the biggest questions are still waiting to be answered. Until next time, stay curious.